The night everything changed began with a single, careless moment that would almost destroy a good man's life. Rain fell hard against the city streets, blurring the neon lights and washing exhaustion into every corner of the world. Ethan Carter stood outside the office building long after his shift had ended, holding his worn jacket close, unaware that one act of kindness would drag him into a storm far more dangerous than the weather itself. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing even when no one is watching, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Ethan was a single father barely holding his life together. Since his wife had passed away 2 years earlier, his world had narrowed to one purpose: raising his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Every morning began before sunrise, packing her lunch, braiding her hair with clumsy fingers, and walking her to the neighbor who watched her while he worked. His job as a junior facilities manager at a powerful tech firm paid just enough to survive, but never enough to feel safe. He lived with constant fear, knowing one mistake could cost him everything. Still, he showed up early, stayed late, and kept his head down, believing that hard work and honesty still mattered. That night, as most employees had already left, Ethan noticed a woman struggling near the building's entrance. She was clearly intoxicated, her designer heels slipping on the wet pavement, her expensive coat hanging loose as if it no longer belonged to her. Ethan recognized her instantly. It was Victoria Reynolds, the company's CEO. She was known for her brilliance, her icy authority, and her intolerance for weakness. Seeing her like this felt unreal, almost dangerous. Ethan hesitated, knowing how easily a situation like this could be misunderstood, how quickly blame could fall on someone like him. But then he imagined Lily waiting at home, and the kind of world he wanted her to grow up in. He stepped forward. Ethan made sure everything was done carefully and respectfully. He arranged a company car, gave the driver the address from Victoria's phone, and stayed only to ensure she reached her apartment safely. He never entered her home. He never touched anything that wasn't necessary. He left before the door even fully closed, walking back into the rain with the quiet relief of someone who believed he had done the right thing. He had no idea that by morning, his name would be dragged through shadows he never imagined. The next day began like any other. Ethan woke Lily, made her breakfast, and kissed her forehead before leaving for work. But the moment he stepped into the office, he felt it. The whispers stopped when he walked by. Co-workers avoided his eyes. His supervisor asked him to wait in a conference room. Minutes later, 2 executives and a legal representative entered, their expressions cold and rehearsed. Ethan's stomach dropped as he was informed that a complaint had been filed against him. Victoria Reynolds had woken up confused, embarrassed, and furious, and in her fragmented memory, his presence near her the night before had become something darker. The accusation wasn't spoken directly, but it hovered in the air, heavy and poisonous. Improper conduct, abuse of position, violation of trust. Ethan felt the room spin. He thought of Lily. He thought of how quickly his job could disappear, how fast rumors could spread, how easily the word of a powerful CEO could crush a single father with no connections. He tried to explain, calmly and clearly, every step he had taken, every precaution he had followed. But fear doesn't listen to reason, and power rarely doubts itself. He was suspended immediately pending investigation, escorted from the building as if he were already guilty. The days that followed were a nightmare. Ethan barely slept, replaying the night over and over in his mind, wondering if kindness had been his greatest mistake. Lily sensed something was wrong. She asked why he was home so much, why he looked tired all the time. He smiled and told her everything was fine, but inside, he was breaking. Bills piled up. His savings disappeared. Friends stopped calling. The world had already judged him. Then, slowly, something began to shift. Security footage was reviewed. The company driver gave a statement. Phone records confirmed the address and the timing. Small details Ethan hadn't even considered started to form a clear picture. And at the center of it all was the truth. Ethan Carter had done nothing wrong. Victoria Reynolds, meanwhile, was facing her own reckoning. The morning after, shame had mixed with fear, and fear had turned into accusation. But as evidence surfaced, she was forced to confront what she had almost destroyed. A man's career. A child's future. A life built on quiet sacrifice. The realization hit her harder than any boardroom loss ever had. When Ethan was finally called back into the office, he expected formality, maybe a reluctant apology. Instead, he found a woman stripped of her armor. Victoria took full responsibility for what she had done. The investigation cleared Ethan completely, and the company issued a formal statement restoring his reputation. But Victoria didn't stop there. She learned about Lily. She learned about Ethan's life, his struggle, his integrity. And for the first time in years, she allowed humility to guide her actions. Ethan was offered his job back with a promotion, but more importantly, he was given respect. Real respect. His story spread quietly within the company, not as scandal, but as a reminder of what character truly looked like. Co-workers who once avoided him now greeted him with warmth. Lily saw her father smile again, a genuine smile, one that told her the world wasn't always cruel. As time passed, Ethan understood something profound. Kindness doesn't always protect you from pain, but it gives pain meaning. Doing the right thing may cost you everything in the moment, but it can also change hearts, even powerful ones. Victoria Reynolds changed too, becoming a leader more aware of the lives beneath her decisions, more human than she had ever allowed herself to be. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you of the quiet strength it takes to stay kind in a hard world, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and let us know how it made you feel. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who might need hope today. And before this story ends, we ask you to comment below and tell us whether you believe kindness is still worth it, even when it risks everything. Ethan tucked Lily into bed one night, listening to her soft breathing, knowing that despite everything, he had chosen the right path. The world had tried to punish him for his goodness, but in the end, truth stood taller than fear, and a single act of compassion changed more than one life forever. Ethan believed the worst was behind him, but life rarely closes its wounds so easily. Clearing his name did not erase the damage done to his spirit, nor did it undo the quiet scars left on Lily, who had sensed fear in her father even when he tried to hide it. Returning to work felt strange, like stepping back into a place that had once rejected him. The halls looked the same, the glass offices still gleamed, but Ethan had changed. Every badge swipe reminded him how close he had come to losing everything, and every late-night email carried the weight of knowing how fragile stability truly was. Victoria Reynolds did not disappear from his life after the investigation. Instead, her presence became unavoidable. She began attending meetings she once ignored, asking questions about people she had never noticed before. Ethan saw the guilt in her eyes whenever their paths crossed, and though she never tried to justify herself, the silence between them felt heavy with unspoken regret. For Ethan, forgiveness did not come easily. He was grateful for the restoration of his job and reputation, but gratitude did not erase the memory of sitting at his kitchen table, wondering how he would feed his daughter if the world chose to believe a lie. At home, Lily slowly returned to her cheerful self. She laughed more, slept better, and clung to her father a little less tightly. Ethan realized how deeply his inner turmoil had affected her, and that realization hurt more than the accusation ever had. He promised himself that no matter how demanding life became, he would never let fear steal the warmth from their home again. Each night, after she fell asleep, he sat alone, reflecting on how close kindness had come to ruining him, and how it had somehow saved him too. Just when life began to settle, another storm arrived. A major corporate restructuring was announced, one that would eliminate several departments. Panic rippled through the company. Ethan watched co-workers whisper in corners, saw the same fear he had lived with mirrored in their faces. He knew what it meant to stand on the edge of losing everything. This time, though, something unexpected happened. Victoria placed Ethan in charge of a task force designed to protect vulnerable employees during the transition. It was a risk for her and a test for him. The responsibility weighed heavily on Ethan, but he accepted it with quiet resolve. He worked tirelessly, advocating for those who had no voice, staying late, reviewing files, and finding solutions that balanced business needs with human dignity. For the first time, his compassion was not a liability but a strength. Slowly, trust grew. Employees began to see him not just as a survivor of scandal, but as a leader shaped by hardship. Victoria watched all of this from a distance, learning lessons she had avoided her entire career. She saw how power could heal instead of harm when guided by empathy. The man she had almost destroyed was teaching her how to be better without ever trying to. That realization humbled her more than public shame ever could. One evening, after a particularly long day, Ethan returned home to find Lily waiting with a handmade card. Inside, she had drawn the two of them standing under a bright sun, holding hands. It was simple, imperfect, and beautiful. In that moment, Ethan understood something deeply. His life was not defined by what nearly broke him, but by what he chose to protect. His daughter, his values, and his belief that goodness still mattered, even when the cost was terrifying. As months passed, Ethan's role evolved into a permanent leadership position. His financial struggles eased, but more importantly, his heart did too. He stopped waking in the middle of the night with panic in his chest. He began to believe again in a future that wasn't built on fear. Victoria, changed by her own reckoning, became a quieter, more thoughtful leader, one who remembered the names and stories behind the numbers. If this journey has moved you, if it reminded you that even in moments of injustice, integrity can still rise, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and engage with the story. Your support helps spread messages of hope and resilience. And before the ending, we truly want to hear from you, so comment below and tell us what part of Ethan's journey stayed with you the most. On a calm evening, as Ethan walked Lily to bed, he realized that life had given him something far greater than security or success. It had given him proof that kindness, even when it almost ruins you, can return stronger, shaping not just your fate, but the hearts of everyone it touches.